Digit Institute.
Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are here to understand the concepts of HTML and CSS. So let's start with how this HTML and CSS will be a guide for the development of web pages. So now in this concept, we are going to understand the fundamentals and importance of the web development here by using HTML and CSS. So let's start the understanding of this HTML and CSS concepts and what are the roles are involved for web pages or by creating web pages using HTML and CSS. So in this section, we'll explore how HTML and CSS are important in web development and how they shape for modern web pages. Okay, so HTML and CSS are like stepping stones for creating the web pages. So this is going to helpful to create an informative, or we can say as a static web pages, which is very much important for development here. So as a front-end developer or as a full stack development, UI is the major part here. In UI, it will be starting a stepping stones of HTML and CSS. So we need to understand the basics of HTML and CSS so that we can create the informative web pages or we can create a dynamic web pages. So dynamic web pages, we are going to involve the JavaScripts. So we'll have that section on the next section. So let's continue now. So first we are going to understand HTML and CSS. So HTML and CSS are very much basics step for web pages here. So in this, we are going to learn what is this HTML is. Okay, so HTML is the basic structure where it is going to helpful to add a content in the web page or images in the web page or forms in the web page or some elements in the web page. So HTML, we call them as HTML elements or we can call them as tag names. So this is what HTML is. So it is going to give a basic structure of the HTML where it is going to helpful to add some content, some text, some elements, some images, some media files, some iframe embedded codes for Google Maps and YouTube's. So all this will be happen in the HTML. That's what the HTML. So you know very well the full form of HTML is, which easily you can understand, that is hypertext markup language. So this is the standard of language for starting the web pages. So let's understand the key features of HTML here. So the first key feature is defining the structure of a web page. So by using HTML, we can add the elements in the web pages or in the web development. So we can add like tags called H2, H1 tags for headings. We can add a paragraph tag here. So we have a lot of elements in this. So which is going to helpful to create the structure here. Then when we are going to talk about the structure, definitely we are going to organize the content and the elements here. So when we talk about this organize here, so each and every element in the HTML are going to helpful to add some sort of content in the web pages. So when we talk about the media here, so as you know, in web pages nowadays, rather than a content, media is speaking a lot. Seeing the media files or icons or images, what we are going to add in our HTML web pages are going to say us which type of application it is, which type of web page it is. For an example, if we talk about an hospital's e-commerce application, mostly you can see in e-commerce application the product related images which you want to purchase in the application. Or if you talk about the education here, like it will be like a courses, it will be like what we are going to study here. Then we talk about an hospital applications, mostly it is depending upon the services, like how icons of the stethoscope and doctor's images, all this going to tell us which type of application it is. So that is the most key feature in HTML, where we are going to add our embedding images and videos and icons and links a lot. So in this, links are very much important, which is going to helpful to redirect from one page to other page. So by using an HTML links, we call it as an anchor tag. We can redirect from one page to other page easily. Okay. So HTML is only defining the structure, but when we talk about CSS and JavaScript, all these three combined will be creating a functional websites and informative websites, and where we can create a very creative websites for responsiveness, okay, of different devices or different screens here. So let's talk about more things going forward. So the second one we are going to know about is CSS and CSS3. So first we'll understand what is CSS here. So in CSS, the full form is Cascaded Style Sheets. Though, so in this name only you can understand styles. Okay. So in HTML, we are going to define the structure, the content and everything. For that structure and content, we are going to use CSS and we are going to change the colors. We are going to style an elements. We are going to define the layout here, which elements should be on left side, which elements should be on right side. So how the look should be of the web page by using an HTML. All these combinedly come with CSS. Okay, CSS is going to helpful to control a multiple templates here. For example, we have an text where we are going to use color as red here. So if we want to apply the same color for other text also in the web page, then we are going to define the class name and we are going to add a CSS for that. So same class name we are going to use again and again, so that we are not going to add much CSS here, where it is going to lead to the performance load here. So once we define a CSS for any element here, if you want to use the same CSS, then we can use it easily. So it is going to control the styles here. Next, we are going to talk about the key features of CSS. The first one is majorly it is going to control the layout. Okay. Once we define a color for a text, most commonly the common colors will be like black and white here. Other than that, we are going to use the other colors, which is going to represent our brand identity. So brand identity is nothing but when we talk about an application, we are going to add some logo to it, some brand name. So mostly we are going to use those logo colors only, so that in each and every page, it is going to define the brand identity of the application. So we are going to have the fonts here that we call as typography. So this typography is very much important, which type of fonts we are going to use here for the text. It is going to give a good impression to reading the content. So that's for this. And if you want to add some animations, we can use the CSS. Previously, we used to use JavaScript for animations, but CSS has been upgraded from CSS3 here. Okay, that is the reason now we can easily add animations in CSS. So in CSS3, it has been upgraded with like concepts of transitions, animations, 2D transform, 3D transform, and we have perspective. So all these concepts are going to helpful to create a beautiful animations in CSS. So next we are going to talk about the second feature here. So in this second feature, it is going to define the separate designs here. So when we are going to talk about a multiple applications, okay, we are going to show them the different things here. For example, if you talk about a Flipkart and Amazon here, so both are same here, but the visibility, okay, the elements which we placed in those pages are completely different. The colors are different, the font styles are different. Okay, so we can create them as separate designs for each and every applications in CSS. So CSS, we have a lot of things to understand. So then mostly CSS are going to helpful to create a responsive web pages here, where it is going to fit the HTML elements in each and every device. So when we talk about the devices, we have a lot of devices in the world like mobile, tab, laptop, desktop, and even nowadays we are using the smartwatches here. So the UI which we are going to have with HTML and CSS, that should be fit in each and every device, and it should look good in each and every devices. Okay, not only devices here. When we talk about these devices, we need to understand the other things also. The compatibility of the browsers. See, user is not going to use a simple browser like Chrome or anything. He can use anything. For example, if you talk about the Apple phones, they are mostly having this Safari browser, or we have Firefox. We have different browsers in the world. So user can use any browser. How we can say that user can use in any screen? Okay, some may be mobile is handy, so immediately they can use the mobile for checking the applications and everything. They can easily browse them. So that's for this, the third feature is about. The fourth one is it is going to provide a consistency in each and every page. The consistency in the sense, once we decide the color theory here, okay, what type of colors we are going to use, what type of fonts we are going to use, how the structure will be, how we are going to design it, how we are going to align the layout. These all things is going to helpful for each and every page. Okay, because we are going to maintain the whole application the same consistency of color theory and typographies and everything. So these are the main key features. So when we talk about this color theory and photo font families, the typography and everything, I want to say you one thing here, that when you define them with this class name, we are going to use that same thing in each and every pages here, which is going to control the layout here. That's what the major features of the CSS. Now we are going to understand the different between HTML and CSS. So how a web page will be look with HTML and how a web page will be looking with HTML and CSS. So simply saying web page without a CSS and a web page without CSS is going to look unstyled, and a web page with CSS is going to look as a styled web pages here. So we'll have a look how it is going to. So this is like only basic structure of HTML. So if you consider this building, okay, you can see only the elements, and this is like under construction here. So this type we say can a simple web page without CSS. So there'll be CSS plain here, and we are not going to style anything here. We are not going to decide the layout. We are not going to tell about the color theory here. We are not going to talk about the typography, nothing here. So just this is like a keeping an elements in the web page. When we compare with this with CSS, so it is going to look in this way. So you can see the colors now, you can see the look how it appears. Okay, so this is web page with CSS. So here it is going to apply the CSS, it is going to talk about the structure, it is going to talk about the layout, what colors we are going to use, how it may to better to look the visibility here. Okay, all this considers under this. So this is a major difference in HTML, okay, and a web page with CSS, and HTML, a web page without CSS. So this is what the difference in page with a CSS and a web page with a without CSS. So next we are going to understand the importance of HTML and CSS. So HTML and CSS are very much important. As I told you in the first point here, these are like basic stepping stones for creating the web pages. So as a developer, if you talk about the UI part, then you need to definitely understand the concepts of HTML and CSS. So HTML provides the structure, while using the CSS, it is going to enhance the structure into a proper design, and it is going to create a look feel application here. Okay, then CSS is going to improve user experience and the readability. So user experience is nothing but it is going to talk about the color theories and everything, how the application is going to look in different devices and everything. So when we talk about which is much essential for creating a web page here, then definitely I'll tell you both, because when we create a web page, we need an HTML to define the structure, to add the elements, to add the content and everything. Then when we talk about the CSS, it is going to enhance the styles into the web pages. It is going to talk about the structure. So these both are essential for the web development and digital interfaces. So modern websites and applications rely on this HTML and CSS. So when we talk about the React JS, Angular JS, different concepts here. So in UI, when we talk about all these things, it is going to start with an HTML and CSS. So HTML and CSS are much important for an UI part, that is a user interface part. So the major things to understand in HTML and CSS is HTML form and the elements. So HTML forms is going to helpful to create multiple forms like login, sign up, student registration, contact info, or if you want to have an inquiry here, if you want to enroll in an education field, all this comes under with this forms and elements here. So CSS, majorly we need to understand the box model, so which is going to have a margin padding, which we call as spacing in the elements. We are going to add borders and we are going to add the content and everything. Not only with this CSS, we can have position and the element, so we can position the element wherever we want in the screen by using this position properties and lot of properties in the CSS. So when we combine HTML and CSS, we can create a multiple responsive web pages, which is going to helpful to add or operate mobile friendly applications and layouts here. So for that, majorly in CSS, we need to understand the flexbox and grid concepts. So these two are very much important for creating the responsive web pages in CSS. So flexbox is like something, it is going to align the elements in different devices in a different way by using this grid and flexbox. So these are the major things which we need to understand in HTML and CSS. So coming back to our conclusion here. So in this section, we are clearly understand the HTML structures, how it is going to affect in web page, and how a web page will be without CSS and with CSS. So in upcoming classes or upcoming sections, we are going to understand the more important concepts of UI. Hope you got a basic knowledge of how HTML and CSS is going to affect in the current digital world of web development. So this is the importance of HTML and CSS, which will be a stepping stones to start with an user interface. So thank you guys. Thank you for your time. So hope you understand the things here. We'll meet soon again with a new concept. Bye bye.